Hi and welcome to day one, the kidney line. The kidney is really the foundation of the whole system and really why we're beginning day one with it. In the kidney line, it houses our jing, our essence. This is the inherited energy that we're born with. We can't put more in, but it can become depleted over the course of our life, depending on the kind of lifestyle we lead. Burning the candle at both ends is a surefire way of depleting your kidney chi. So physically in the body, we're looking at this part of the body. Think about where the kidneys are, the lower back, the urinary system, the pelvic, the reproductive system, and that whole sort of area around the hips and the pelvis is our focus in the practice today. Mentally and emotionally, we're thinking more about fears, anxieties, that feeling of worry and anxiousness within us. And when we can bring that kidney chi into balance and connect with it, or maybe just become a little bit more friendly with our fears, then we're looking to have willpower and a healthy ambition, that drive to get through life. So make sure you've got your props and things handy, blocks, belt, cushions or bolsters, whatever props you've made after watching our introductory video. I have a timer down here if you wonder what I keep pressing, just to make sure we don't spend all day in any of the poses. So let's begin. You're going to begin lying down on your back in your constructive rest pose. So your feet are about as wide as the mat with your knees resting on each other. You can get yourself comfortable, hands on the body. Or if it feels good for your shoulders and your chest, this is quite a lot more intense, you could reach the arms back over your head. Close your eyes gently. Relax the face, let your eyes close softly, let your jaw relax. Begin to slow your breath right down. Slow your breath down. And you might then become aware of the soles of your feet on the floor. Your tailbone on the floor. Your upper back on the floor. The back of your head where it meets the ground, these grounding points, your foundation. And as we begin the practice, you might like to set an intention. Why are you here on the mat? Is there a way you'd like to feel, or maybe a specific aspect of this kidney chi that you'd like to connect with, to lift within yourself, lessen within yourself? When we work with the kidney energy, it could also just be to feel a little calmer and more grounded, to bring that sense of calmness so we can rest more deeply when we go to sleep. So plant that seed here at the beginning. And then you can open your eyes. Open your eyes. Move your arms by your side and you can roll over and come up to seated. Our next pose is going to be butterfly pose. If as you sit down, the knees are quite high up, you're going to want to get cushions and sit up on them. If you feel discomfort, a lot of discomfort in the thighs or in the knees, you can also prop with two similar sized cushions and blocks under both knees, so that takes the weight of the leg and takes the pressure off the knee and the inner thigh. Remember, we're going in slowly. If there was a scale 0 to 10 on the sensation scale, you're coming in at number 5 and maybe leaning towards a 7 or 8, but wherever you feel is appropriate. So you could stay here, or you could start to come deeper and deeper until you feel that about 50% stretch on your inner thighs. You're welcome to just stay here and hang your head, But if you have the props available, which I hope you do, you can make a cushion to rest the forehead on. I'm not going to keep my head down, otherwise when I talk it'll be all muffled. So support your forehead, and we've got another 2.5 minutes here. If it feels comfortable, then maybe you're closing your eyes. If it feels more natural to keep them open, then by all means keep them open. Slow, deep breaths as you focus all your attention on that inner thigh area of the body, that inner hip area of the body. And of course, the mind is going to wander. I would imagine if you've just come down to the mat to practice and you've had a busy day, it's going to take maybe a few poses, maybe the whole practice to begin calming that mind down, and that is okay. You've got 1 more minute there. Maybe for the final minute, you feel yourself deepening your stretch, moving the prop a little bit to come forwards more. Slow, deep breaths, ideally through your nose. You're breathing through your nose. And then when you're ready, you can use the hands to slowly and gently come out of the pose. Remember, slowly as you go in, you're coming out. Rolling props out the way. Take your hands to the knees and help those legs back together. You might like to straighten your legs, lean into your hands, and just take a pause here. Take a rebound. How does it feel along that target area, the kidney line? Few deep breaths. The rebounds we take will be longer, the longer we hold in the pose, but always around a minute. And so then when you're ready, slowly, gently coming back up to seated. So our next pose is going to be half saddle, or the modification will be lying on your front. I'm going to show you half saddle first, and then if it doesn't work for you, you can try option 2. So lean over onto your right hip and bring the left leg behind you. You're going to roll the calf muscle out the way. Now, if you have knee injuries, knee issues, this obviously is not a position where your knee would probably like to go in. So you're going to lie on your front. In your half saddle pose, the direction as travel is back, and eventually maybe you're back on your elbows or even lying down completely flat on your back. But that's not for everyone. So option 2 would be to lie on your front, and then you're going to bend that left knee and hold the left knee as you rest your head on the floor. And in this one, I'd say most people find this fairly accessible, but if neither work for your knee, then simply leave it out. So you can push your hips into the floor if you're lying on your front, or lean if you're going into your back. So choose the pose that works best for you, and we're going to take 2 minutes either side. Now, although I say be still, please try and make all your adjustments at the beginning so you are in that just right position, that comfortable place to begin with. And then you resist the urge to fidget. So if that urge to move, to adjust does come, it's like, is it necessary? Do you need to move? Are you in pain then? Yes, you need to move. You've got 1 more minute. as you breathe deeply here, can you slow the breath down so that you are breathing in for 6 and then out for 6. Last couple of breaths, maybe as the body opens, you can go a little bit deeper into the pose. Now, if you're lying on your front, simply let go of your foot. If you've been in half saddle like I am, help yourself up and roll onto that right hip. Roll away from that knee, extend the leg out and then take a pause. You could sit or you could lie all the way down and take your rebounds like this. And I'd say whichever one feels best for you. Close your eyes. How does it feel in front of that left leg? How does it feel in the front of the right leg? I would imagine they would feel different. And when you're ready, slowly and gently we come back up and we do the other side. So if you're on your front, take your right leg. If you're seated, roll to the left side. Move that calf muscle out the way. Remember, you can sit up on something to give yourself a little bit more room. And then leaning back. So if as you sit here, you already feel it, stay there. Otherwise, keep moving yourself back. And you have 2 minutes there. Adjust your body and then commit to being still. Commit to being truly present with your breath for this whole posture, this whole 2 minutes. And as we stretch through the front of the thigh, we're connecting in like the hip flexor, this lovely long muscle that comes up through the front of the body. It does also touch through the inner thigh area, so any tension there will be felt in the front of the leg as well. And you can think of this area as the body, the hip flexor muscle, the psoas. This is our fight or flight muscle. When we're scared, when we meet trauma, it wants to curl us up into a tiny ball. And so this is encouraging it to let go. You've got less than a minute to go. Remember, you can move more deeply into these poses if it feels appropriate for you. No discomfort in the knees, really important. And so when you're ready, slowly, gently you come up. If you're lying on your front, just let go of the leg, otherwise roll away from that right leg. Release it. Sit or lie down. Close your eyes and be still. Can you feel a warmth in that target area? Can you feel tingling in that target area? Maybe you don't feel anything just yet, that's okay. So So if you're lying on your front, then please stay there. Our next pose will be on the tummy, and we're going to come into a back bend. So if you have any issues with the lower back, then it may be you stay in this first position, lying down on the floor for the whole time. This is option 1. If your back's okay, you can try it out. Maybe you're coming up, elbows underneath your shoulders, Sphinx pose. So now we're creating this compression in the spine, but a compression around the kidneys. You could have your feet as wide as the mat, or your feet hip width apart, even your toes touching, so you can play around with what's the best position for my body, and do I look forwards, do I relax the head down? A really nice way to prop this pose, and for those of you with a bolster, so if you don't, just stay as you are, is to rest your lower ribs on the bolster. Now you see it's pushed me into a deeper back bend, so if that doesn't work for your back, then move that bolster out of the way. Settle into the breath, settle into your body, and as you breathe, maybe take nice deep breaths down into the tummy. Feel your tummy pushing down into the floor as you inhale, and releasing as you exhale. Give the digestive system a little bit of love. And maybe you turn the hands out to the side. You might want to activate the glutes, squeeze the bottom muscles as we come into the last minute, and maybe straighten the arms. Don't do this pose if you have disc issues in the lower back. Keep the elbows down. Squeeze the glutes, lift through the chest. You could look forwards or you could look down, wherever's most comfortable for you. Slow, deep breaths through your nose, connecting in with the front of the hips, creating that lovely compression at the back, at your kidneys. And a lovely extension, a back bend, really lovely counter pose to most of the chairs that we sit in. And then in your own time, elbows come down, forehead comes down, relaxing the hips, maybe shaking the hips side to side. Slowly we move into our counter pose and our rebound, our child's pose. So your knees come together, you sit back on those knees, round in your back over the legs. If it's not appropriate for knees, then prop something soft here, and if your head doesn't meet the floor, then prop so your forehead meets something. Close your eyes and breathe deeply into the back of your body. Is it becoming easier to be still, to do nothing? Because one of the really, I'd say, the most easy way, slowly coming out to balance the kidney energy, the kidney chi, is rest and contemplation. But in our busy world, rest is almost seen as a guilty pleasure. So, our next pose, we're coming into dragon. With dragon, I'd say, depending on what you have underneath you, you might want a cushion under the knee. So I'm going to show you with the left leg behind first. So left leg behind you first. If you do the other one, don't worry, just do the other side. So we step the right foot forward, so it's this lunge position. As we want to connect with the inner thigh, the hands are coming down. Now, you may need to pop your hands on a block or something if they don't reach the floor. So I'm leaning the hips forwards. Maybe you look more like this or completely different, depends on your hips. So to begin with, we're leaning into that groin area. Relax the head, relax the face. Relax into the pose, lean into that stretch. It may be for the whole 3 minutes that you stay here, but I am going to offer you another variation as well. So as we come to this halfway point, you could lift the heel, that front foot, and turn the toes out to the side. So you come onto the side edge of that foot. I'll move as well so you can see my knee. The knee wings out to the side, wing dragon. Okay, so to get a good view, maybe like this. So this would be quite a deep winged out to the side, but it may look more like this. If it feels better, then please keep that foot parallel. To make it more intense, elbows are coming down towards the floor. Wherever the foot is, you can aim to get those elbows down on the floor. So you've got 1 more minute there, wherever you've decided to be. Where do you feel the sensations in your body? And dragon, as you can guess from the name, this is a strong pose, as you can feel in your body. I would imagine there are some strong sensations coming up. Can you sit with them? Do you need to back away from them? And can we find comfort with them with the breath? Just a little bit longer here. So take your time, bring the foot back, walk your body back. We're just going to lean back into this hamstring stretch. The front knee could be bent, should feel quite nice after dragon. It's a split dragon. And then releasing that leg. So just take a pause. You might stay on all fours. You might come back into a child's pose, whatever feels best for your body. And then we bring the other foot forward. So coming up onto all fours, our left leg is coming forwards now, and we're leaning towards the front of the mat. You're leaning into that stretch, into our dragon pose. You can put supports underneath the hand. If it's not comfortable for your wrists, I should have said this on the other side, you can rest your elbows down on something. So a bolster would be really good for that as well. So make sure it's high enough though, that you're not comfortable in your wrists, but in a whole world of discomfort in the inner thighs. The kidney line, beginning in the sole of your foot, working its way up those inner legs, passing through the kidney, finishing up in the head. Taking rest. Another wonderful way is warmth, being warm, warm baths, warm coziness, blankets, really warming yourself up, warming foods. And so as we did on the other side, maybe you're coming into that winged variation, lifting the heel, turning that toe out to the side, and then maybe bending the elbows as you start to lean into it more, or staying just as you are. You've got just under a minute to go. slow, deep breaths. So just as you did on the other side, coming up, bringing that foot back, leaning yourself back, but the leg doesn't have to go completely straight. Relax the head, the neck, the jaw. When you're ready, coming out of that pose, we're going to take a rebound so you can lie down on your back. Lie down on your back, knees bent or legs straight, closing your eyes. Take a pause. What do you feel? How does it feel? Your body, the mind, the target area that we continue to work with, the inner thighs. And then when you're ready, you'll slowly find your way up to seated. So our next pose is caterpillar. And I'd say for most people, caterpillar can be a really lovely, relaxing pose. Bolsters or cushions, really handy with this one. Even if you think you have quite open hamstrings, bending the knees is really important. So if the hamstrings are short, when you sit, you feel like you're tipping back. Putting a support under the knees means that as you lean forwards, you're protecting the lower back. So you could be here. If you have more cushions, you can prop the head. You can do it without the cushion. And you can just walk your body forwards into that rounded position. I'd say that's quite a lot more intense. If neither of those work for you, or it starts to feel uncomfortable in your back, then lie down and take foot to sky. You could put the band over the foot. Okay, so that is the modification for that pose. So set yourself up in your caterpillar. Make yourself really comfy. And we're going to take 3 minutes here. Relax your face, relax your jaw, relax the head. And if you do suffer with a tight neck or shoulders, it's worth, even with the arms, make a little pillow with the hands to really rest the forehead on. Maybe now it's easier to be still. Maybe as we open up the body, it's easier to find that long, coherent breath in for 6 and out for 6. You've got 2 more minutes there. Maybe the mind is still very busy, and that's okay. You can watch that busyness. What are the thoughts that are coming into your mind now? Are they thoughts from the past, thoughts from the future? Are they completely random? Maybe it's emotions that are rising up as you hold these poses. When we practice yin yoga, we're getting into all the different layers of ourselves. The physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, energetic body. One more minute there. Maybe as you hold it, you go a little deeper into the forward bend, you know, maybe it's going to take longer than 3 minutes. In for 6 and out for 6. Take your last couple of deep breaths, and then nice and slowly you're going to come all the way up and out of the pose. You're going to either sit back or lie all the way back into your rebound, into your shavasana. You pick. Close your eyes and notice. What do you feel along the back of the body? Along the back of the body is the urinary bladder line. This is the partner to the kidney line. You feel tingling along the back of the body, back of the legs. So in your lying down position, you are ready for our next pose, a supine twist. So you want to take your arms out to the side. So your arms are straight out to the side, roll that arm. You might want to have some cushions for the knees. So if the shoulder is tight, the left side of the body is tight, the left side of the hip is tight, maybe you're going to need some height. So you'll shift the hips over to the left. And then you'll bring the knees up towards you and take them over to that right side. So you could rest them on a cushion. Or if it feels more comfortable, you feel like you could go a little bit deeper, then the knees can come down to the floor. But it's important the knees and the feet are touching something. Arms are out to the side, both sides. Relax the shoulders, the chest down into the floor. Now when this left shoulder comes down into the mat, maybe for the next few minutes, you might take your cactus arms position, like this, bending the arms. And I say maybe, there's lots of maybes and possibly, because only you know how it feels in your body. You've had about a minute here. If you've been in it a minute, you think, oh, it's getting a bit too intense, remember, put some propping underneath the knees. And then just stay there and breathe. We've got another 3 minutes there. You feel the breath moving in and around your body. You feel all the areas in the body where there is sensation, even the most subtle of sensations. And you're developing a new skill, interoception. the ability to feel those deep, deep tissues in the body. Even the ability just to feel your own heart beating within you. This takes practice, it takes a quietening of the mind so you can connect with the very subtle energies within. You have 1 more minute there. As you hold the pose, have you let go of your body? Is there any unnecessary tension or holding in the jaw, around the eyes and palms of the hands, and around the shoulders? Are you holding the body? Are you allowing it to lean down into the floor, into your mat, to take rest? Take a nice deep breath. Take your hand to the knee, your hands to the knees, and use the core of the hands to help yourself back up to a neutral position, resting the feet on the floor, bringing those hips into neutral so you can come into your constructive rest, or straighten the legs out. Close your eyes for the rebound. Just observe. So now we'll come into the other side. If you used props or even didn't use props on the other side, then be prepared to do the same or different the other side. So arms come out to the side. This time our hips are moving over to the right. Our knees come in towards us and they move over to the left. So add cushions if they don't easily reach the floor. Relax that shoulder. We often hold a lot in this shoulder. Let it go. Make any adjustments you need to as we come into this pose, so that you can be still. You can be still. Twists are wonderful poses, turning the focus inwards. So now we've been working with the breath for quite some time now in all these different poses. I'd like to invite you to count your breaths. And could you count each breath, that lovely slow in for 6, out for 6 breath, all the way up to 10 without being distracted. Now I won't know, so don't cheat. As you breathe, as you count each breath, in for 1, out for 1, in for 2, out for 2, or how it works for you. If you get distracted by a thought, then you're going to go back to the beginning and start again. So you've got 1.5 minutes to go. You might take that Cactus Arms position if you feel that's appropriate, and then continue counting those breaths. In for 6, out for 6, all the way up to 10. If getting to 10 is easy, then can you get to 20? Maybe you can't get past 2 without being distracted, and don't worry about that, that's quite normal, whatever normal is. Coming into those last few deep breaths. So just as you did on the other side, you're going to help your body back out. You may be using the core, maybe using the hands to help pull yourself onto your back. Relaxing the feet down, coming into that rebound position, whichever is most comfortable for you. Taking a pause. Allowing everything to reset. So take your time. We're coming into our final pose, and I suppose if you like, our peak pose. It's probably the most intense that we've done so far. There's a couple of options, and I would say one of them is going to work for you. One of them is very intense and it's away from the wall. One is against the wall, but it can still feel quite intense. So frog pose is, I suppose, my intended place for us all to go. You take your knees out to the side. Probably want cushions under the knees, so you'll see, I'll show you from two angles, your knees may be much further apart than mine. With the feet could be like that or like that, really wherever is comfortable. And the knees are just sliding away from each other as you come down to the floor and feel the inner thighs. So that's one option. Otherwise, you can come over to a wall, swivel around, very graceful, until you can take your legs away from each other on the wall. Begin here in your butterfly, and possibly for the final minute, if you want a very deep stretch, let the legs come out wide. So you could be here, butterfly on the wall, or if you don't have a wall, legs up the sofa like this. Otherwise, we're going to spend our final 5 minutes in our frog pose. So find your way in. Maybe take your bolster so it's something comfortable to rest on. Settle in and make that commitment to being still, unless you're feeling pain or discomfort, in which case, by all means, come on out. So you've had a minute already. You can feel the inner thighs. You're aware of that breath. You're just allowing yourself these pauses in these different postures, time to notice, time to pay attention to what it can bring up within all those different layers of yourself, all those different bodies. You're strengthening that paying attention muscle, that mindfulness muscle within you. You've had 2 minutes, you've got 3 more to go. You don't have to change anything within these poses. If you want, the knees can go wider apart. And at the same time, you can come out of these poses entirely, come out and stay out, or come out and then maybe find your way back in. You're in control of this practice. This is a practice for you, practice that hopefully you feel a little better at the end, a little bit more space around those hip joints, a little bit more softness around the tissues around those hip joints. You've got 1.5 minutes. How do the sensations change as you leave yourself marinating in this pose? Do they move around? Do they just become more and more intense? Or maybe there starts to be a release, a relaxation in that part of the body, letting go. So you're going to count your own 5 breaths. 5 breaths to close this pose. Whenever you finish those 5 breaths, then very slowly and however works best for you, you're going to help yourself out. If your legs are on the wall, help them back together. If you've been in frog with me, then slowly you come up, maybe leaning forwards, gently, slowly bringing those legs back together. And we'll come into our final rebound, our final resting pose. You could have cushions under the knees, lying down on your back. Hands come down onto the lower abdominal area, the hips. Take a moment to pause and acknowledge the journey we've been on. Connecting with the chi through the kidney line, all through the inner legs, the inner hips, all that opening around the pelvis. Maybe your first introduction into breath awareness meditation. How was it to be with your breath for such a long time? Remember the intention you set at the beginning of the practice, that seed you planted. Nurture it now. Take a moment to check in and ask yourself, how do you feel here and now, your body? How do you feel here and now as we come to the end of the practice? Has anything changed? And when you're ready, of course, if you don't need to go anywhere, then you could stay there a little longer, but if you need to finish with me, then wiggle those fingers and toes. Take a nice big stretch of the arms over the head. Bending the knees, give your knees a big hug, say thank you to your body. Rolling over to one side and slowly helping yourself up to seated. Come to a seated position with your eyes closed. We won't be here long. Take a nice deep breath and slowly you can blink your eyes open. So I hope you enjoyed today's practice. Please feel free to ask any questions you need to, you have that come up for you in the comments. And I'll see you tomorrow.